the man down, bullies, blow the man down.
To me way, blow the man down.
Blow the man down, bullies, blow him away.
Give me some time to blow the man down. We went over the bar on the 13th of May. Way, blow the man down. But Gallagher jumped and the gale came away. Give me some time to blow the man down.
As I was a-walking down Paradise Street,
Blow the man down.
a saucy young damsel I happened to meet.
Give me some time to blow the man down.
I says to her, Polly, how do you do?
To me way.
Hi everyone, this is Jen from Scrapping Posh, and I am here with my Country Craft Creation Design Team project, starting it, and this is my sketch. So we're going to make a jewelry box, and we're going to use the Echo Park Mermaid Dreams collection, and I have all the individual papers, and then I have some of this pearlescent in matching colors. It's this one's Irish cream. This one is bittersweet and amethyst jewel. So some very nice coordinating colors. And we have the die cuts, the flowers from the Prima Moonchild collection, and some chipboard accents for the collection. But first we're going to make our box. So I'm going to put the papers aside. Oh, I got some leftovers here. That's from the Echo Park or Color Play. That's the Disney collection. Okay, so I have some base chipboard, and we're going to put this together as a box. This is the front, the side, and the bottom. We're going to need some more of these, but that's okay. So 2 6x5, 2 4x5, 2 6x4, and 2 4x3. So first cut those out, and then we have some other things because I want to put some drawers and stuff, because jewelry boxes have drawers. We're going to cut out in the middle, and if you have a trimmer that will cut through chipboard, I'm not sure if it will cut the insides, but there's a couple of different ways to do it. I'm going to start with the trimmer, and this is how I cut my chipboard. You've seen it before. It cuts half at a time, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up, and the dimensions for this are a 1/2 inch on each side, 1/4 inch at the bottom, and then 5 inches long and 1 inch, and this is going to be a pull-out drawer. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take in on the lines, I'm going to go ahead and use my cutter to, I don't want that to happen, to cut the lines. So this particular cutter has, pull you in here. Okay, this particular cutter has this metal strip there. That's the guide, and then it also has, like, you can see through, so you know approximately where to start. Now if I didn't have this, I would just use an X-Acto knife, and I've done that before. Like on my 221B Baker Street, we did a lot of that with the windows and stuff. So I'm just going to start cutting. Make sure you don't cut too far, because you don't want to weaken your chipboard. And I just did just along that drawer line there. And I'm going to do the same thing here. And if you don't get it all the way to the corner, no worries. You're going to cut it with the chipboard. You'll cut it with the X-Acto knife. Okay. The important thing is not to go too far. especially on that 1/4 inch side. Okay, I think I missed a little, but that's okay. Now, I'm going to take my X-Acto knife and I'm just going to go over the parts where I just cutted. So, not cutted. Where I just cut. So that just gave me a good guideline. Now, if you don't have a paper trimmer like that one, I really suggest it for cutting chipboard if you don't have one of the big, I think they're Photomat cutters, which I wish I had, but they are pretty expensive and they're big. Like, where am I going to put it? See, it's starting to come through the other side. And don't bend it. So if you didn't have the trimmer like that, then just grab a ruler and X-Acto knife and start hacking away. Oh, and this is like I thought this was a medium weight chipboard, but it is thicker than, I just got some Graphic 45 chipboard. It says medium weight, 30-point chipboard, and it is quite a bit lighter, so. Which every chipboard has its purpose. I think this one you need just a little more stability than that thinner stuff. So, okay, so after cutting for a little while, it'll start to pop out. And we can go to the back and we can kind of get those corners done. Alright, and then you can use a fingernail file, but I like, this is very old. You get these, this is a sanding sponge, you get them at the hardware store. And just go over, whenever you cut something with an X-Acto knife, just to get, you know, if you double cut or something like that, which, you know, I did. Okay, so this one, this is about 1 by 5. And it fits obviously perfectly in there. Now on the inside here, oh, the sanding block does fit. If it didn't fit, I would use the fingernail file. Yeah, I just keep that little sanding sponge handy. And then I do have a fingernail file for the smaller spots. Alright, so that's the first cut. That's going to be a drawer on the front. Alright, then we're going to do 2 side drawers. These are the side panels. You have to leave enough space at the bottom for this drawer. So my suggestion is to put it next to it and say, okay, this drawer is going to go all the way back. These drawers are going to go halfway in on the sides. So you want this one a little bit above that one. Now you don't want it all the way to the top because we're going to make a tray up here. And obviously if you did that you wouldn't have enough room. So my measurements are, for the 2 4x5 pieces, about 2 inches up and 1 inch in, which leaves you 1 inch at the top. So 2, 1, 1, which is going to leave you about a 2x2 little drawer, approximately. And If you don't have one of those paper trimmers, I'll do one by hand. You just start you just have to make sure your ruler, you have to make sure your ruler has a metal guide. This is a Tim Holtz ruler and it does have a metal guide here. If not, you have the very distinct possibility of cutting right through your ruler and shaving pieces off, which I have done. If you use this side, it doesn't have that guide. Yep, done that before. Okay, so I have a tendency to not always get things straight when I cut, so I'm going to, after I get this out of here, gotta get the corners. Label these parts here. And these are just the fronts of the drawers. We still have to make the rest of the drawers. And I figure we can kind of do that as we go. And I should tell you, I started with two 12 by 12 chipboard pieces. And right now these are the scraps I have left from just this. So just do some strategic cutting. So I'm going to label both of these A. So this will be a side A. And I'll go ahead and label this side B. Okay. I know that's that. Get my fingernail file here. Okay, there's that one. We're going to do the same with this one, and then I'll do that off camera. And then you're going to take your 4x3s, and I want the top to have a dome shape. Just find something that is going to hit both sides. Like this one's just a little too small, you see that? My half inch, look, my half inch is like right on. So just find yourself a rounded something or other. If you have like templates or you know, dies or whatever that you can use to do this, perfect. I don't have any round dies. Make sure that you line it up with the top so that there's no flat spot on the top. But you're going to want to also repeat this, so both sides and the top. Okay, I'm just going to double check to make sure that this and this are straight. I'm going to put a line right across where those hit to make sure that they stay, that stays where it needs to start curving. Okay, now that I know where I want that, I'm going to go ahead and mark this one. Is that the right one? I'm using my grid here so that I know where I need to line this up approximately. Make sure that there's no flat spot on the top. You don't want your lid to be crooked. So there we go. And then we're going to cut this out with the X-Acto knife. It is not the easiest thing in the world to do because it is curved. But my suggestion is to take it slow, one layer of chipboard at a time. You do not have to press hard if you do multiple cuts. If you would rather not do this rounded bit because you have like a chipboard trimmer, you can make the top like half hexagonal or something like that. Kim Reynolds, I think, did a treasure chest that you could use the lid design for that if you don't want to do this curve. But really, guys, I'm not pressing that hard. Just take your time. You could do one cut every 5 minutes and go to something else if it's hurting your hand. If you use a thinner weight chipboard and you have a die cut machine, it's a possibility you could die cut something like this and just layer it. More than one piece of chipboard, glue it together. Okay, and there we go. And I'm going to cut the other one, and then we'll take a sander to it and sand them both at the same time. So I'll come back in just a minute after I cut this one and cut that panel. Okay, so I cut everything out. I cut that out with you. And here are these two pieces I cut out, and then here are my two rounded pieces. I'm going to take these rounded pieces, and you can see that they're not exactly the same. Flip it over and see. They're a little better that way because remember, I use the same template, but still not exactly the same. So we're going to keep them both together. And you can see the difference. There's probably a good 1/16 of an inch there difference, and you don't want your lid to be crooked, so these need to be the same size. I'm going to take this sanding sponge again, and if you don't have a sanding sponge or sandpaper, then grab your X-Acto knife and try and trim around that. But chipboard trim or sand's fairly easy, so makes a little bit of a mess, but not too bad. Nothing a wet cloth won't pick up. Okay, so as somebody who does tutorials, I want to say designer, but that sounds really funny to me because I don't know why, it just does. So as someone who does tutorials and shares them for you guys so that you can make cool stuff and get ideas, I don't just want to show you exactly how to do something. I want to be able to show you how to make your own, using your own ideas. So I'm going to show you, kind of like going to school, I just don't want to show you how to get an answer to a problem. I'm going to show you how to do the problem to get multiple answers, to do multiple questions, I guess. I want to give you the formula. Okay. So, now, since I sanded them both at the same time, I cut too much off here, but that's okay. When we put the chipboard on top, it will, there'll just be a little hole there, and that's fine, because we're gonna use little gussets. Okay, so these two pieces, I want to make sure they line up like this. So this is the way I sanded them. I'm gonna flip this over, and I'm gonna write inside, inside. So that will ensure that they are the way that I sanded them. Okay, so now, how do we figure out how much we need here without being mathematicians, right? No problem. Grab a piece of scrap paper, like a 20-pound, or 20-pound, like a 16-pound cardstock. That one's not long enough. It doesn't have to be, oh, it's still not long enough. This one's too long, so this will work. This is like 8.5 by 11. It was in my scrap. So what we're going to do is we're going to use this as like a fake lid. And like I said, it doesn't have to be the same length. We're just going to use it for the actual size of this. So I'm just going to cut a piece off of this, like just a few inches, so that we can figure out how long our chipboard has to be. So I just have this. This is 8.5 this way, and I'm just going to line it up. Let's try and do this without getting you shadows here. I'll turn on my other light. Okay, so I'm going to line it up. Start at the base, where you want it to hit, and wrap it around, and then just make sure that everything's touching where you want it to touch. I'm gonna have to put you guys in shadow, but you guys get the idea. I just can't see it from over there. Just wrap it around the top of this arc. And once you're sure that it's up against all sides, you can let go of this first side so you can mark it. You just gotta make sure that it's up against all sides. Maybe easier if I tape it to the desk. And this is where you call in your reinforcements if you have kids or husbands. Okay, so that is flush over here. It's hanging over here on this side where this finger is, but it is hitting the entire, it's wrapped around that. So I'm gonna let this side go so I can mark my corner on here. And on the cardstock, you can lay that down, and there's that much, too much. And then you can just test it again, wrap it around. You see where that mark is? Right where the corner is? I'm going to cut this off. I'm going to use my paper trimmer to make sure I get it straight. Double and triple check so you don't cut your chipboard the wrong way. You see how that just forms on there? And like I said, you can see some air or some light through there in the corners. That's because the this isn't exactly straight, and this will stay straight. But I don't want a I don't want a cardstock lid, I want a chipboard lid. So now that we know that in order to get from here to here, this piece has to be 8 1/4 inches. And it's going to vary for everybody because it really depends. I mean, it should be close, but it depends on what you used for this rounder. So, I think the formula would be like let's see, the formula of a circumference, because if this is half, which I'm not positive it is, then it would be like mathematicians, pi times the radius, which should be about 1.5 or 2. Let's see if it's right. Ready? Well, it's not, yeah, it's not going to be exactly right. Well, yeah, we can add that on. Okay, so 2 pi r, right? Is that what I said? So we've got 2 times pi, which is 3.14, times 2, and that would be 12.56 for the whole circle, but I don't have a whole circle, so we're going to estimate that this is about half of a circle, which like I said, I don't think it is. So we're going to divide by 2. That's 6.28, plus we have this here, 1 inch and 1 inch, plus 2, so 8.28. So we're like 0.03 off. So that is a pretty close estimate. You don't need to know that. I just wanted to like kind of show you the science behind it. Okay, so essentially I need an 8 1/4. Use the cheat method. It's easier and it's foolproof. Okay, which this is the cheat method. Take a piece of cardstock, wrap it around. Okay, so now our jewelry box is 6. So I need, for the lid, I'll need a piece of chipboard that is 6 by 8 1/4. I don't know if I have that left. Oh yeah, I do. Here we go. I'm hoping that I can get by with just the 2 pieces of chipboard. I still have to make the insides of the drawers and stuff, so I'm not sure. So here's my paper cutter again, the one that I use for chipboard only. And this is going to leave a really strange 1 inch thing, but that's cool because I have that 1 inch drawer that I still need sides for. So I'm going to cut it at 6. Paper cutter difficulties here, guys. There we go. 6. I flip it over. Cut it at 6. I'm gonna keep that. 8 1/4. Oh, I have a scrap of chipboard up here. I'm gonna use that too. I think that's actually 2 inches. 8 1/4. And again, this is for our lid. Okay, here we go. Probably going to be really close to the right size for the bottom of that drawer. Okay, so how do you get it to bend? You can do 2 things. You can wrap it around something that's round and wet it. I've done it before. It works. I'm going to cut on this side about every... This is a pretty tight radius. It's 2 inch radius, 4 inch circle. I'm gonna cut about every 1/2 inch on one side. And if you don't have this trimmer, use your X-Acto knife. Just don't cut all the way through. You only want to go about halfway through. Which is one of the things that is so nice about this trimmer, is because it does only go halfway through. So that, like, you just seen me cut that paper. Or that chipboard. you cut one, you measure it, you go to the other side and cut it. Now I'm gonna wrap, once we get done with these scores, and they are scores because they only go halfway through, I am going to fit it up around that piece. If I need to cut every 1/4 inch instead of every 1/2 inch because it's not working, we can do that too. Okay, so now we have these reliefs, and you don't want to bend it straight down because it will crack. And you can use it that way, but the idea is to still have stability, so you don't want it to crack in any one spot. So I'm just kind of, and it just did it. It did it more right there. I'm just kind of working a little bit. Like, I don't want it to completely, and the middle, I'm putting pressure on both sides, so the middle's going to want to fold. And I want it to fold, I just want it to curve more. So, now, before we do anything, obviously we test to make sure that we cut everything right. And I'm just taking the side that we're going to eventually glue on here and rolling it. And this is when you can decide if you want to score every 1/4 inch instead of every 1/2 inch. Completely up to you. Okay, so let's see if I can pick this up and show you guys. And you see that? That is what we want. I still want to shape this a little bit more because the more it has to work, the more stress is on our, what I'm going to call hinges. Now, do you remember all of the leftover strips of paper we have from our albums that are like 1 inch or 2 inch strips? From when we cut down an 8.5 by 11 or a 12 by 12 to get to get our pages. And if you don't use them on tags and stuff like that, because 1 inch and 2 inch, what are you going to do with those? You save them. And I have an entire basket here dedicated to those strips, and then things that I don't use in albums that I can use in other albums. But they're all different colors. This came out of that. You can do one of two things. You can make sure you have all the same color strips. I tend to use black in my albums, so I have a lot of black. I use the cream for the last album I did, so I have several cream, but mostly black. So and black, in my opinion, black goes with everything. So let me just show you here. Here is some of my scraps from my albums. These, like I said, 2 inch strips. You want to cut a lot of these into 1 inch strips and then score at a 1/2 inch. So this is why I keep all these. These I'll keep for tags, so I'm not going to use those. But all these 1 to 2 inch strips are all going to get cut up into, I call them hinges. But what they're going to do is they're going to hold your project together. 3D projects, you can make any 3D project with these hinges. And I never throw anything away that is at least 1 inch thick. And this is why. See? Look at those. Perfect. I don't have to cut up full pieces of paper. I'm using my scraps. So we'll use black. the other thing you can do is you can use whatever color you want and then get some washi tape that coordinates with your paper. I pulled some out just in case I needed some for the drawers or whatever. And these are just ocean themed I got from Joann Fabrics. So, okay, so I'm going to cut all these down to 1 inch thick by however long they are, because I can cut them down as I go, and then I'm going to score them at a 1/2 inch to give myself gussets. I'm also going to play with this a little bit, kind of round it without breaking it in any certain spot. Round, 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 round. Okay, so that's what I'm going to do, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I just took some of those strips and cut them to approximately 1 inch. I think they're more like 15, 16, so you can see that this isn't exactly the bend. The score line's not exactly in the middle, but I have a caterpillar and I just line it up with the gold or the metal strip, and it works good. It doesn't have to, I guess I'm saying your score lines don't have to exactly be in half. Okay. So let's start building the box. This again is the front, side, side, back. Okay. So one of the things you have to think about when you're putting your box together is like the order that you put it together. Like if I put this on before this, is it going to be, am I not going to be able to get, you know, am I not going to be able to put something on? Like I have these feet and they are supposed to be held on by brads. So I haven't decided if I'm going to put them on by brads or not. But if I decide to do that, then I have to have the box together. I still have to be able to get to the inside, but it has to be matted. So that is not the easiest thing to accomplish. So I may just glue those on, or I may use different feet. But for the basic box construction here, this goes this way. Let's start by just putting the 4 sides together. So do want to, yeah, I want to make sure that all these pieces I got here by doing that I'll just know which way they go. So I'm going to take the pieces out because I don't need those yet. There. Okay. We're going to start with the bottom of the box, so I'm going to also grab one of my 6x4s, and you can do it one of 2 ways. Remember, this chipboard is, let me see if I can get a measurement, about a 1/16 of an inch thick. So if I put a 1/16 here and a 1/16 here, your overall project now is an 1/8 inch bigger than what we had planned, which means that it's going to be 4 1/8 now, and your top is only 4 inches. So we're going to do it on the inside. So when you put your chipboard on, it's going to be on top of the base. And then we'll have some finagling to do with the sides, because I cut them 2 sides, and obviously, just like we said, they're going to be 1/8 inch too big or too narrow. As long as you continuously stack them up in the same way, it shouldn't be a problem. Now, I have one of the hinges here, and there's a 1/2 inch on both sides, and this part here is only a 1/4 inch. So you're going to overlap there. And if you do that, then your drawer's not going to go in. So I'll show you how to deal with that. So the first thing I recommend is putting the hinge on this where the drawer goes. And just cut this to length. I'm just going to put glue along the bottom, along that 1/4 inch. And then another 1/4 inch up the side here, because I know that's where that hinge is going to go. And just set your chipboard on top in the crease of the hinge, in the middle of the hinge, there. So you can see hang on, I just said I was going to go on top of the, you need to leave a chipboard's worth in here. So a 1/16 of an inch. Let's do that again. Leave a 1/16 of an inch so that this bottom, your bottom chipboard can slide down in there between this piece of chipboard and there. See, it's going to fit like that. So this should, yep. See how that works? See how that wraps around? Remember, it's stacking on top of that bottom piece, so you gotta just have a little bit more room, about a 1/16 of an inch. Now, you take your X-Acto knife, and you're gonna cut that excess small bit off there. Okay, so recommendations at this point. You can do one of two things. You can wrap all your corners in a washi tape, or you can, if you're using black, you can use black marker. If you're using a cream color, you can use acrylic paint. Just don't use a lot because it'll warp your chipboard. I am going to use this big black marker and go color the insides so that chipboard's not showing. If you're using a craft, then you don't have to worry about that. And then that's the corners. I'm going to go ahead and just do a little bit on the outside of this. I'm not sure how I'm going to cover this up yet, so I just want to be safe. I don't want to put too much, I don't want to add too much, like put washi tape all the way around, because even that little bit is going to keep this from going in and out. So I'll probably just leave it like that, just like I did the Halloween candy thing. You can mat that and you can't even tell. Okay, so that's the most difficult part about this. And now let's just put the rest of our hinges on. Your pattern paper is going to go over this, so you're going to have some I want to show you something. If you cannot butt these things up against each other and then try and put the hinge on. There's about a 1/16 of an inch between, if you can tell. So don't do that. I've got to put a hinge on this side also. So it doesn't, this one, because it's on the inside, it doesn't have to go all the way to the edges. Plus the corner, the other corners are going to cover these corners. So we're just doing the same thing as we did on the front, except the inside hinge can butt all the way up against the corner or the side. because nothing has to go there. The floor just butts right up against it. I'm going to take my X-Acto knife again and cut the inside of this out. So like I said before, you got to think order, so that you don't, like if I were to have put that hinge on last and this thing was sticking up and everything was already 3D, getting this piece of paper out of there would be a bear. Okay. So, make it easy. Just think about all the different things that you have to do. Okay. Here we go. Oh, I forgot to show you guys. This is my, like, scissor cup, and I took that lid and I just rubber banded it around it. And not tight, because I don't want to crease. If you were going to do it tight, you could just use a wider band so that it doesn't put a divot in your chipboard. Okay, so that's how I'm, I mess with it a little bit, I formed it up, and then I put it around that. Okay, so this side is stable, it's not going anywhere. Let's do the back side. So I remember that these are going on top, right? I don't want to forget that. Now on this side, because I don't have any cut out here, you can do the inside first. The fun thing about doing the inside first is that you get to just butt them right up against each other. This time we're going to put the glue on the hinge. And butt it right up against the edge of this, because again, this is on the inside. Okay. And then before I put this side on, which, I mean, you don't have to, I'm going to go ahead and put the hinges on both sides here. And like I said, the inside hinges don't have to go all the way across. It's more for stability. Because I'm telling you what, guys, if you have never done this, you don't know. You put 2 pieces of 60-pound cardstock, or the Country Craft Creations cardstock even, because that has like textiles in it, and these things don't move. They are solid structures. You would never think until you do it how stable they are. Okay, so these go right up against the sides. And now we can put the back on. Whoops, slid. And you can butt these up against each other because it's inside to inside. See, it'll still fold. I'm going to go ahead and put this back on. No, this one oh, sorry, you can't put that one on yet. This one, you have to fold that up to put it on. Yeah, we can go ahead and do that. Yeah, don't glue it down flat by... I don't even know why I did that. Now, you do want this at a 90-degree angle. The good thing about this is the hinge that you already put on the outside will not allow you to go any further. So, it's down like that just a little bit now, but once I put this side on and it'll be good. Okay. Now, we're going to put a drawer here. And when you add a drawer, it needs something to sit on. I'll show you. This is a 1/4 inch up, right? You have a 1/4 inch here. The drawer is going to slide in. If you just slide in without anything on the bottom, your drawer is going to fall down. So we need to put something here to make sure that the drawer stays up. So you can do a couple different things. Like if you have scrap chipboard, you can layer it up, and this is a 1/4 inch, probably 4 1/16 inch pieces of cardstock or of chipboard. Shh. 4 1/16 inch pieces of cardstock makes up a 1/4 inch, but you could probably get away with 3. It's just because there's other, there's glue and adhesive and stuff there. So you could do that. That's probably the easiest way. So let's go ahead and go with that idea. Let me see if I have some scrap chipboard or even just like cardboard. Okay, I had to put the dog on the porch, so hopefully you guys can't hear her if she continues to bark at everything. So, I have these are 4x6, like chipboards or cardboards that came in, some magnets that I had purchased for my daughter's like PTO, or it's actually music boosters. And they are scrap. Like these are about the size of like the backs of paper packs. So that's a good idea for those. And they're a little big, but we can always, well, they're actually the exact same size, but we need to trim them down. But I'm just layering them up to meet, where that drawer is going to sit. So if you do this, it's going to do 2 things. It's going to weight down the bottom of your box, which is good. And it's going to give you that build up, and you can use backs of paper pads. You can use scrap chipboard if you like only make one size album. You can also just use corrugated cardboard and just stack it up until it hits that little 1/4 inch mark. So I'm gonna get my paper trimmer out again, my chipboard paper trimmer, and since we're putting on, this is a 6 by, it ends up being 3 7/8 because of we put those sides together. Let's make it 5 3/4 by, oh, I was hoping it would go all the way through, but it don't. Okay. So each one's going to take 2 cuts. 5 3/4 by 3 will be enough. We're going to like kind of center it on the 6-inch side, and then this 3-inch side we'll just butt it all, and then there's like this big space there. It doesn't matter. Okay, so we're going to cut whatever you have. Now I'm going to use this scrap board to build up to that 1/4 inch lip so that our drawer has something to sit on. So I have approximately this many, but I'm not going to glue them together because the chances are you're going to not need as many as you have, because you got to glue them together or tape them together or whatever. So here we go. The other thing that you could do is, let's say you have a whole bunch of little pieces of chipboard, like you could totally do build up on two sides and then lay one piece across. It doesn't add as much weight, but it still does what you need it to do. Let's show you what I'm talking about. Let me put these away and see if I can find some scrap chipboard, like regular chipboard. Okay guys, I looked all over. I finally found my scrap chipboard. Tiny pieces left over. This I wanted to do it the other way just for stability reasons, but I think more people will prefer this way. So I just have some scraps from different projects. And we need to build up. I'm going to keep, you want one piece that fits here for that to set on. So I'm going to go ahead and glue these together. I have have something stuck in my glue. You can tape them together too. There's going to be no I say tension on this. So however you want to put it together. If you have a regular piece of chipboard instead of these two really flimsy pieces, you don't have to glue two together like this, but I want some kind of stability, so okay, I'm gonna let those dry. And then we need to know how many of these stack up to get us up to our 1/4 inch. And I'm just gonna take, these do not have to be precision cut. I'm gonna take my Tim Holtz scissors and cut approximately, what, 2 inches? Do some more. This one already has, like, this is from where I scored it wrong, like by a 1/2 inch. Okay, so the idea here is to build up until you get to a 1/4 inch. There's some trucks outside and the dog is going nuts. Hopefully they will leave soon. So I know it's going to be at least 3 layers because that's a 1/4 inch, and I have these pieces of chipboard are the same chipboard that I'm using, and they're about 1/16 of an inch. So 1/4 or 3, these together, all stacked up, 3 pieces on top of each other will be 3/16 of an inch, and then I'm hoping I can add this and it won't be too big. I'm hoping it'll be just the right size. Go. Take a look. there is still, oops, you can see here, there's still a bit of a lip. Like, not even a 16th. I'm gonna get one, actually, I'm gonna get some paper, just some regular paper, and put a couple layers on the bottom of this to make sure that that stacks up. You see, it's just barely showing. Let me zoom you in. You see how that's just barely showing? If you put that drawer in there, it's going to get stuck there. You won't be able to pull it out all the way. Just get a couple scrap pieces of paper again. I'm just going to take this piece of black. Just want to make sure that it evens up. And then we're going to do one more thing. It still leaves a little bit of a spot, but I have an answer for that. Okay, so let's glue more like this. Whoops, sorry guys. Just build it up using scraps. And just butt that up against the front. Okay. Now we're going to put another hinge here to keep that flush. So this is going to be about 5 inches. You do want this one to be pretty close because you will be able to see it. You want it to be straight. Okay. Cut the hinge, make sure it fits. It's a little long. Okay, I'm going to put it on the inside first. This is going to go inside the box. And I cut it crooked, but that's okay. We're going to cover it up. Okay. Whoops. I lost my hinge. This all adds stability to you guys. There we go. You see? Now you have a build up so that your drawer fits. Now we can put the sides on and build this up too. Okay, so the sides are going to be super easy. You just take your hinge. I'm going to cut one for this side. Glue on here. Put your side on, and I recommend doing this standing up so that you can get it flush. Whoa, something's not right. This is the wrong piece. That's what's not right. You want your side piece. Okay, there we go. There's one. Over here. Make sure you put them on right side up. I'm gonna glue on the gusset or the hinge here. Put this side on. See how it's coming along? Once that dries, we'll go ahead and put the... You don't want them to fall down while they're still drying. We're going to put the side gussets on here. This one I cut a little too long. I'm going to have to trim that. That's okay. It's starting to get more and more stable as you go. Just smoothing down the sides because they are visible. And then where I cut too long here, I'm just going to take the X-Acto knife. Okay.
Oh, blow the man down, bullies, blow the man down.
You mean where?